All right, here's a question. Once you buy something, do you own it? Like, do you really own it? Like, you can do whatever you want with that thing?
Today's gadgets are designed to be unfixable by the average person or by anyone at all.
Anything that has a chip in it right now is probably impossible to repair without using the manufacturer.
Companies like John Deere install digital locks, which prevents anyone but an authorized technician from conducting repairs.
There's a special screw on the iPhone. It's a special 5-pointed screw that no one had seen before the iPhone that Apple put on there just to keep you out.
Something breaks, and the only solution is to take it back to the manufacturer. They can charge you whatever they want.
I might have spent $3,400 on these two phones, but I truly don't believe they belong to me.
In the past 50 years, technology has crept into every aspect of our lives. But as everyone who deals with technology knows, as great as it can be, it eventually breaks. Now, more and more technology has become harder to repair, forcing consumers to buy new technology and throw out old, repairable technology. Recently, some people and third-party repair companies have been fighting for legislation to force companies to make their products repairable and help avoid unnecessary e-waste, save consumers money, and gain a choice in where they repair their products. I've come across Right to Repair on YouTube watching iPhone and MacBook repair videos. iFixit, a right to repair advocate and part supplier, defines repair as a broad international effort to secure our repair options and prevent repair limitations. Right to repair laws have three main goals: preserving the right to open your stuff, increasing the availability of the parts and tools you need, and keeping independent repair shops in business. I was surprised that companies could get away with stuff like this from right under our noses. While Right to Repair affects all technology, in this video essay, I'm going to be talking about how specifically Apple makes their products hard to repair, and Apple in particular is one of the worst when it comes to anti-repair technology in phones. Part 1. What is Right to Repair and planned obsolescence? Iberdrola, a company that helps produce clean energy, defines planned obsolescence on its website as the practice of designing products to break quickly or become obsolete in the short to mid-term. The general idea behind this is to encourage sales of new products and upgrades, a practice that has been banned in some countries. The strategy is attributed to the motor industry in the United States when, in 1924, a General Motors executive, Alfred P. Sloan Jr., suggested launching new models every year to keep sales moving. This is a way that companies like Apple use to manipulate consumers into buying more products and throwing away perfectly repairable devices. This produces more sales for the companies, so they don't care about the environmental impact. What does planned obsolescence have to do with Right to Repair? Right to Repair is a fight back to planned obsolescence. It is a push for tech companies to make their products repairable so that consumers can choose where to repair their electronics. iFixit, a repair supplier and Right to Repair advocate, states on their website that the reason many manufacturers restrict access to parts and tools, refusing to make them available to anyone but their own dealers' repair shops. This kind of control creates a repair monopoly, locking independent shops out of repairs and enabling manufacturers to set artificially high prices. It's not a coincidence that a smartphone screen repair is often about half the cost of a new device. The so-called 50% rule is an arbitrary but often cited point at which many customers will opt to replace instead of repair. In addition to controlling parts, most manufacturers refuse to publish the related instructions, which are instructions they have already created for their internal use. Withholding repair documentation makes DIY repairs more difficult and more dangerous. Apple has created a monopoly of repair on their products, restricting parts and knowledge, as well as going out of their way to create new ways to make it harder for independent repair shops to repair your devices. iFixit lists on their website tactics that these tech companies use to limit third-party repair. The first is locking out third-party parts. iFixit states that Apple discourages third-party parts with unable to verify warnings that show up as persistent messages on your lock screen and get added to your device information. The next one is pairing parts to the motherboard. iFixit says Apple's self-repair program locks parts to a device serial number, which dramatically limits the potential for independent repair and end-of-life refurbishment. and the final tactic is just straight up making irreparable parts. iFixit lists on their website that these tech companies use proprietary screws, so people have to special order the tools they need. Batteries get glued in with industrial adhesive, making basic maintenance ridiculously difficult. Components get soldered together into ungainly assemblies, meaning you have to replace, for instance, an entire top case just to replace a key on a keyboard. Apple is not the only guilty party, but the examples before show they are guilty of just about everything. Right to repair legislation would lessen Apple's profits, which is why Apple resists it so hard. Apple has spent millions lobbying against bills and developing new technology to block third-party repair. But how much has Apple made due to these predatory practices? Part 2. Apple versus repair. If your phone breaks and you want to repair it, you have to go to an Apple store and have them repair it. You do not have a choice if you want the repair to not block some functionality. The parts of modern-day Apple products are paired to the logic board with serial numbers, so the device knows if the part is original to the device or not. Even if you use a legitimate Apple brand part, since it is not original to the device, it will appear as illegitimate parts. Only Apple can overwrite the pairing to pair a new part to the device. This keeps the repair monopoly in Apple's hands so that they have control of the market and the prices. Apple phones used to be easier to repair back in the early days before they developed all the ways to make repair as difficult as possible. I think analyzing how things have changed is important, so let's start from the beginning. Starting with the first iPhone, which was released in 2007, this was before any of the anti-repair came into construction, but repairing this phone wasn't a walk in the park. The back cover was very difficult to remove. After disconnecting the flex cable that connects the screen to the logic board, there are a few normal Phillips head screws and you're in. Another big issue is that the battery is soldered to the motherboard. The battery is also glued in place, making it harder to remove. The screen is hard to replace as well as being held in by metal clips and requiring careful precision. The first generation iPhone was just created without repair in mind, but was not created for anti-repair. The iPhone 3G and 3GS, the battery is no longer soldered to the motherboard, but it is still held down with a really strong adhesive. In later models of the iPhone 4 and 4S, Apple began to use pentalobe screws. This was a special anti-repair screw that neither a flat nor Phillips head screwdriver could unscrew. A screen repair is one of the most common repairs for a phone, and on the 4, you had to disassemble the entire phone to replace the screen. The next iPhone series is the iPhone 5. This is the beginning of the non-replaceable home button. If the button breaks, there is no way to get the Touch ID back. To replace a small, cheap component, you have to get the entire screen replaced, costing much more money. The iPhone 6 begins having waterproof sealing. This is an adhesive sealing that keeps out water and dust, but it has the added benefit of making it harder for repair technicians to get into the phone. The iPhone 7 and 7 Plus start software pairing parts. Each part of the phone has a serial number that the logic board reads upon the phone's boot. In the 7 series, the home button isn't a button, it registers touch. So now, replacing the home button will remove all features rendering the part completely useless. The iPhone 8 series is the first series with the back glass. Apple uses a permanent glue and a special laser must be used to remove the adhesive. With the front glass, back when it was first released, if you did a screen replacement, the phone would recognize the non-genuine part via the serial number and wouldn't turn on. Apple was sued and later released a patch undoing this. However, replacing the screen will show a warning that the part is non-genuine and you will lose True Tone and auto brightness features. Repairing the iPhone 12 can cause issues with the cameras. Replacing the battery will prevent you from checking battery health, and your phone will warn you that the phone has a non-genuine battery. The iPhone 13 series had the Face ID camera paired, so replacing the front camera will make Face ID not work. Eventually, Apple made the back glass of the later 14 models replaceable. The flash, microphone, and wireless charger are all attached to the back glass, and all software is paired to the device, so you cannot change the back glass without replacing the original of those parts. As of writing this, the iPhone 15 just came out, and even though Apple now has a repair program, the device only has a few minor changes, making it more repairable, like some additional labeling on the inside, but nothing that makes a big difference. As it is overtly apparent, Apple has invented and innovated several anti-repair techniques that have made their products difficult, if not impossible, to properly repair without going to an Apple Genius bar, creating a monopoly of repair. Apple is not the only company that does this, but they have pioneered a lot of technology and are by far the most egregious when it comes to anti-phone repair. But if they are so anti-repair, why do they have a self-repair program? Part 3. Apple's self-repair program, another way to pay Apple. Apple is anti-repair and nothing shows that more than its self-repair program. The self-repair program is Apple's attempt to appease the masses while still controlling exactly how you repair your devices. Before I continue, I do want to re-emphasize what right to repair means. Right to repair does not mean that I want to repair my electronics. It means that I want the right to choose who repairs my electronics. May that be the manufacturer, a third-party repair shop, a friend, or myself. Regardless of the repair, the part should function as intended with no restrictions. When I say I want the right to repair, I want the right to choose a third-party repair shop, and I think that's the first flaw of self-repair program. This program does supply third-party repair shops with some, albeit limited, manuals, proprietary screws, and tools that they can purchase. However, Apple restricts access to parts by requiring a device's serial number. If you do want to use Apple's self-repair program, you do need an iPhone 12 or newer. You need to select the device, model, and supply the serial number for the device. Then, there are all the parts needed to repair with nothing extra. The prices are just about the same as going to the Genius Bar. You can return the broken part for a small discount, making the self-service repair only slightly cheaper than taking it to the Apple Store. If you need the machines, Apple will put a $1,200 hold on your card. This is all on top of whatever parts and tools you need to buy and the price of renting the equipment. Then you have to wait for shipping. For phones, this is bad because most people cannot go without their phones for several days. After receiving the equipment, you have a week to return it or they will charge you. After completing the repair, you are not done yet. You then have to calibrate the phone. Even though you bought genuine Apple parts, the device is still paired with the original parts. Since Apple knows the serial numbers, you have to go through a calibration process that lets the device rewrite the saved serial number. This is a lot to go through for what should be a simple repair. Most people would rather bring the device to an Apple store, but with as many Apple stores there are, they aren't everywhere, and in some rural places, going to the nearest Apple store may take several hours to drive to. It would be much easier if you could just go to the nearest third-party repair shop and just get it repaired there. But Apple won't supply third-party shops with legitimate Apple parts or the calibration technology to do repairs properly, so this is the only alternative. iFixit, the repair supplier and right to repair advocate, says it best in their article about the new repair program. While it's a great step for repair, the program doesn't do what right to repair legislation around the world aims to do. A true right to repair will give independent repair shops a chance to compete in the repair marketplace, bringing down the cost of repairs for everyone. Unfortunately, this program expands the freedom to repair with one hand while locking the door with the other. Integrating a serial number check into their checkout process is a dire omen and could allow Apple the power to block even more repairs in the future. Building the technology to provision individual repairs easily sets Apple up as the gateway to approve or deny any repairs in the future with parts from any source. Part 4. The EU and right to repair and how America can take notes. In the new iPhone 15, Apple has switched to the universal USB-C from its old proprietary Lightning port. This is because of new EU legislation. The EU's bill focuses primarily on the environmental impact of anti-repair and how discarded products are often viable goods that can be repaired but are often tossed prematurely, resulting in 35 million tons of waste, 30 million tons of resources, and 261 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions in the EU every year. While this is also an important aspect of right to repair, there is also the issue of consumer rights. This bill is very new, so not many effects have been seen yet, but with the emphasis on affordable repairability for all electronics, I am excited to see how this bill impacts the issue of e-waste. In the US, we need one of the 50 states to pass a comprehensive right to repair bill. A few states have passed right to repair bills, but due to lobbying of large tech companies like Apple that directly benefit from the lack of these bills, none of these bills are comprehensive enough to protect consumers and the environment. Part 5. Conclusion. Right to repair is so important. And in closing this out, I do want to reemphasize that this is not just Apple doing this. Samsung and Google also do this. This is why the McDonald's ice cream machines are never working. This is the reason why hospital bills are so outrageous. Tech manufacturers have created a monopoly on repair, and in America, it should be the government's duty to protect consumers from monopolies. The government must pass a comprehensive right to repair bill. So what now? Throughout my time working on this project, I had to explain what right to repair is to everyone who asked me about this project. I've realized that part of the reason that tech companies have been able to get away with this for so long is that people just do not know this is an issue. They don't know about the serial number pairings, and they do not know about the insane markups on repairs, and they don't know about how much money and time goes into keeping repair in hands of the manufacturer. My big call to action is to talk about right to repair. Tell your friends and family about how outrageous it is that big tech companies won't let you choose where to repair your devices. Tell about the difficulties of repair and how manufacturers go out of their way to make it so that third parties can't properly repair their products. And most importantly, tell them that this is not acceptable and that we demand change, and they should too.